Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, we have some exciting news to start your Saturday off right. We have some breaking news coming out of Delaware, where some amazing ruling action has happened in our favor. This is about manufacturing your own firearms, about the right to keep and bear arms. This is incredibly important. Everything will be linked in the description box below, including the actual opinion of the judge, because this right here changes a whole lot across the board. Enough of the setup. I'm going to dive right into this and make sure that you guys are here with me at Arms Directory between 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time today, where we will have a little meet and greet, a digital meet and greet, if you will, and I would love to see you over there. So make sure you mark your calendars, and we will talk about maybe this right here. But what we're going to discuss, guys, is something that the FPC was involved in. Again, this is something out of Delaware around ghost guns and ghost manufacture, but this will have reverberations across the entire nation. FPC court victory. Federal judge blocks Delaware's ghost gun ban. Now, of course, right off the gate, this is a state-level problem. The importance here, think of all the other states that have the ghost gun ban. You had Pennsylvania do one, you had California, Illinois, New York, all the left states, they all did this. Well, now you've got a ruling from a federal judge that says, oh, that's unconstitutional. Check this out, because this, like I said, this is going to be a big deal. U.S. District Court Judge Mary Ellen Norica issued an order blocking enforcement of Delaware's ban on ownership and possession of unserialized homemade firearms and unfinished 80% receivers. That's a massive deal, because that is everything that they've been trying to ban on a federal level and on state levels for the past year and a half. All the forward momentum that they've been trying to do is being stymied by the judicial system. Check this out. From Wilmington, Delaware. Today, Firearms Policy Coalition announced that United States District Judge Mary Ellen Norica issued an order enjoining Delaware's bans on self-manufacturing and possession of home-built firearms in its Rigby versus Jennings lawsuit. Again, down there in the description. The opinion and the order can be viewed at FPC Law, and I've got that link down there. But this right here, if you hear nothing else from this video, listen to this snippet from the actual decision. This is everything. Under the Section C, the statutes for prohibiting manufacturing of firearms, plaintiffs also contend that those portions and that prohibit manufacturing untraceable firearms are unconstitutional. Defendant, this is the state, again asserts that this regulation concerns conduct that is not protected by the Second Amendment. The court disagrees. Bing! That's one. In Ezell v. City of Chicago, the Seventh Circuit struck down a Chicago ordinance that simultaneously permitted those who have trained at a firing range to possess firearms and barred firing ranges within city limits. The Seventh Circuit reasoned that, quote, the right to possess firearms for protection implies a corresponding right to acquire and maintain proficiency in their use. The core right wouldn't mean much without training and practice that make it effective. Similarly here, this part. The right to keep and bear arms implies a corresponding right to manufacture arms. Indeed, the right to keep and bear arms would be meaningless if no individual or entity could manufacture a firearm. Thus, if possessing untraceable firearms is protected by the Second Amendment, then so too is manufacturing them. This is at the U.S. District Court level. This is a tremendous deal. You're going to start to see copycat lawsuits across the nation. This is I'm having trouble overstating this. This is a really big deal. But got a couple more snippets I want to make you aware of. The defendant asserts that these statutes do not burden conduct protected by the Second Amendment because unfinished frames and receivers are untraceable firearms and not in common use and typically possessed by law-abiding citizens for lawful purposes. What have we been talking about consistently across the board since the Bruin decision? The common use element piece is coming in across the board. This is massive. Defendant, however, again, the state, has offered no evidence to support that assertion. Indeed, defendant's evidence on this point consists of a single statistic that law enforcement recovered almost 24,000 untraceable firearms at crime scenes nationwide between 2016 and 2020. That is such a blow because that is exactly what they've been doing. Their whole motivation for banning ghost guns or the manufacture or possession in different states is because 24,000 have been found. We've talked about that multiple times on our videos. That's their big point, and the judge just sank it right in the water. But let's keep going because there's even more. What is important is whether the prohibited untraceable firearms and unfinished firearm components are, quote, not typically possessed by law-abiding citizens for lawful purposes. On the record currently before the court, defendant has failed to provide evidence that persuades the court that this standard has been met. Therefore, the court finds that these statutes burden rights protected by the Second Amendment. Again, another death blow. You have not proven anything that you're asserting, state of Delaware. This is going to Illinois. This is going to New York. This is going to California. We are about to be on the beginning of a lawsuit spree, and this is going to be a thing. Now, here we go with Bruin, because Bruin is coming back to haunt everybody already. Turning to the second step in the Bruin analysis, remember you had to have historical precedent, and then you had to have the actual text of the Second Amendment. The court finds the defendant has not demonstrated, again, defendant the state, that the codes are consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation in Bruin. Defendant argues that laws tracking and restricting the possession of firearms date back to colonial times, and that serialization dates to the same period as Heller's examples and should also be considered a long-standing and presumptively valid measure. But defendant has not identified a single statute or regulation to substantiate her argument. Have another slap! Everything that the left has been doing that we've been covering on this channel, they've been trying to frame all of their gun control in historical precedent to satisfy the Bruin decision. That's what we've been talking about a lot. But they're failing miserably because nothing is exactly as they seem. They can't name a single statute or anything, and the court even says it. You got nothing, guys. But here we go again. Check this out. It's another beautiful part. Thus, plaintiffs have demonstrated a likelihood of success on the merits that the two bans violate the Second Amendment rights. These statutes burden constitutionally protected conduct because possession of firearms and firearm frames and receivers is within the scope of the Second Amendment's right to keep and bear arms, and defendant has not shown that these firearms and components are not commonly owned by law-abiding citizens for lawful purposes. Further, defendant has offered no evidence that these statutes are consistent with the nation's history of firearm regulation. This judge in Delaware just undermined all the moves that the gun control the movers have made and tried to pass off as historical precedent. Back to the drawing board, gun controllers, because this is going to more states across the board. And make sure you are subscribed so we get this out to you as soon as we can. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Braden. See you later.